This is part 6 of my timber frame shed project, and what I'm doing here today is going to give you an update where I'm at and where I'm going with this. So the very first thing is I'm going to show you here this is the sawmill side, and you can see here I've got the posts and the beams up, except for the main beam here for the entrance for where I come in with the tractor to bring the logs on the sawmill. If you noted in my last video, my son has gone back home, so we got to that point where we still have to put the beam. He's going to give me a hand online to cut the beam properly and to get it installed. But that's on the back burner for now. This whole section's on the back burner. What I have left to do here is obviously get the beam up, and then get the roofing here on this section, and then the back wall, and then this section will be completed. Now, what I've decided to do in the interim, because it's more of a priority for me, is because the weather is going to start to change and I want a place to park my tractor. So I'm focusing on the portion primarily for the tractor, and that's over here. And you can see all the posts and all the frames and the beam everything's up for the tractor. And basically I've got the rafters going. So the rafters are up, you can see here. So now basically what I want to show you guys is a little trick of how to do the bird's mouth for the rafters. Now my son is the one who showed me how to do this little trick. It's some of you might know already, some of you may not. It may be beneficial if you're always wondering how to do it without actually using a measuring tape to make the angles or anything like that. It's a very simple process. It's a nice little trick. It's very different from the way I've always built before. I've always used a blocking system, which is totally different than using a bird's mouth. Now this portion here with the rafters, what I've done, the rafters are spaced 2 feet apart for each one, and you can see the strapping there as well. The strapping is 2 feet apart as well. And everything right now is all tacked in, and it's ready for the roofing. The roofing is going to be about 3 to 4 weeks. I still have to wait for the roofing to come in that I've ordered. In addition to that, while I'm waiting, you'll see on the next video, you're going to see the siding. I'm going to start doing the siding. I want to get the tractor portion all completed and closed, because it's my priority to get this section done. The mill can wait. It's not a big priority for the mill section. So I'm going to take you up on the top, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to do this bird's mouth. So stay with me, guys. All right, guys, I'm up here on the scaffolding, and I'm on the bottom section, as you can see here. So I'm just going to show you quickly the way my son taught me, which is much easier than I thought it ever would be. So here's the rafter that needs to go next, and in order to get the bird's mouth, you don't have to measure anything. You just take a block of wood, which is also, this is a 2x8. This is also a 2x8 section, and you just put it flush here with my beam, as you can see here. And all I have to do is scribe a line this way and scribe a line going up. And you can see here, there's my line. That's for my bird's mouth on the bottom. So we're going to go up here in a minute on the top, and I'll show you how to do the top. It's a little bit more involved, but it's just as easy. We're up here on the very top, and it's a little bit more involved, but it's very easy to do the bird's mouth, and I'll show you here. There is just a small measurement that needs to be made, and that's just to find the center of the beam. So you can see here I've got my rafter and I've got the beam here. So now I'm just going to, the beam is at 8 inches across, so what I'm going to find is just the midpoint. So that's the 4-inch mark. A little hard to hold the tape with one hand here. So right there's my 4-inch mark. Yeah, so that's my midpoint. So what I do from here is I just take the square. Now you can use a speed square if you got one of those larger ones, or you can use the framing square like I've got here. So I'm just going to double check my measurement here to make sure that I'm 4 inches. A little tricky when you're up in the air. So I'm getting it right about there. So now that I've got my center point, all I have to do is scribe a line going straight up on my square, And the second step is very similar to, or identical to, this first step that we did on the lower part of the rafter, and that is line up your block. Again, it's a 2x8 piece. You can see I have it flush here on the beam. On this side here, it's flush with the beam. And I'm just going to scribe a line. And then going across, and I'm going to scribe a line going up. So when I remove the block, you can see here, this is my bird's mouth here on the bottom, and this is the angle for the rafter. Now what you would do is basically, once you've done this side, you do exact same process on the other side that I would do, so that then you have the two rafters meeting one another. So anyways, guys, I'm going to take this here down, and I'm going to go and cut it, and then after I cut it, I'm going to show you how it fits. All right, guys, so I'm just going to show you when I cut it up. There's a couple things. The first thing I always do is I darken up the lines a bit to make it a little bit better for me to see. Whoop, I don't want to make a mess. And the one line here, I always extend it longer. The reason for that is for when I line up the saw, so that I'm using the guide, that I can actually make my cut or follow the line appropriately. So I make the line like that. So this here becomes waste on this side. Something I haven't showed you yet, as well as the to do the length. You got to know what your length of your rafters, what you want them at. After I make the cut down there, I'll do the length part of it. So this one down here, I've already darkened up the lines. So I just need to cut it. As I mentioned, I used the guide here, and I watched the blade a little bit, but to get it started, it's always nice to have the guide so you make a nice straight cut. All right, guys, that's the first cut. That's the angle on the top. And the one I didn't do here, obviously, is I didn't extend that line. You say I like to extend the line so that I get a good start with the guide. Otherwise, you end up with a bad cut. So I'll just extend that so I can get my guide lined up. Because you notice when I put the saw over top, you can see here the guide won't show on the line here, so I have to put it up here further. And you only want to cut as far as to the top of the line. I gotta take off my sunglasses, guys, because that's way too dark for me to see. First one. The reason why the saw got a little bit noisy there is because I got offline. You can see when I started, I got off a little bit. So every one of these that you cut is, you're going to cut part of it with the power saw, and then I just use a hand saw to do the rest of it. You don't want an overcut. The overcut, then you're weakening your bird's mouth, so you don't want to do that. You're weakening your rafter. So then I just clean this up a little bit. Anyways, there's the first one. That's the top. And we'll do the bottom here. Let's put my glasses back on for safety purposes. The other line there, I just couldn't see it with them on. And when you're cutting going this way, it's always going to be a lot harder on the saw. It's going to bind a lot more. It's going a different way than across the grain. All right, I'll finish the rest with the hand saw. The battery-powered skill saw or circular saw, they're not as powerful as the electric ones by any means. So they're a lot safer. They don't twist your hand or anything. I could have got a little bit closer, but I didn't want to overcut. I've got the sun coming in behind me, and it's causing a lot of shadow for me, so it's a little hard to see. But anyways, we'll get it done. So I'll just clean that up. So the next thing to do is just to do the square off the end based on whatever length that you want. So I'll just do that now. And as you notice there, I'm measuring it from the tip at the top to the far back on the square end on the back here, on the bottom of it. I'll just make my mark. Get the framing square here. You can use a speed square or framing square, whatever you got. Make a nice dark line. And it's all squared off. Now guys, if you wanted to put eaves troughs on here, basically you need to get the angle from the top, and you're going to basically on a speed square. This one's too small for me to use, but what you do, there's a pivot. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but it says pivot. You're going to use that, and you would put it on the top end, and you're going to get the number of degrees of the angle, and then you just transfer it here on the bottom end, and then you cut it accordingly, and then it's going to be at an angle same as the top, so that in parallel, so that you can put an eaves trough. I'm not doing that. I'm doing a different method, so you can look that up online. It's just something I thought I'd point out in case you were wondering. Anyways guys, so the next thing to do is to put it up on the top and show you how it fits. All right, guys, you can see how that fits there. It's a little bit off here, but not overly bad. I should have had that a little bit more flush. But you can see here now the other one, the other rafter would come from the other way and would meet in here. So let's go take a look at the bottom. All right, guys, you can see here on the bottom, it's pretty good. As it fits nice and snug. So what I got to do, there's just a little gap here. It's not much, but on the top, you notice it was a little bit high. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this board off and I'm going to just trim the top a little bit, on the inside here, and that'll bring that top down, and this one will actually sit just a hair more flush and it will actually sit completely on. So the next step to do is obviously just toenail it in. But this is going to become my template for my next series of rafters going across on this section. So I don't need this one right now. It's just to show you how the rafters was done. Well, guys, that's basically the update and the rafters, and that I'm going to be finishing the tractor side first before I continue on the sawmill side. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. If you have not subscribed to my channel, you can do so by hitting that subscribe button down below. Once again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Gelling Outdoors.